Ever wondered if your Social Security payments are truly keeping up with the cost of living? It's a question millions of Americans are asking, especially with prices for everyday essentials skyrocketing to unbelievable prices. Let's dive down the rabbit hole on how Social Security and inflation and see how they are connected, and why the government has a big reason to lie about inflation rates. Ever wondered why you feel like you are living in a false reality or living on a different planet when the government puts out its inflation report? Well, you are in luck, because I have the answer for you. Social Security is designed with a built-in protection system against inflation, and works flawlessly when the government doesn't lie about the true rate of inflation. This is called the Cost of Living Adjustment, or COLA. The idea is simple. When the prices go up, your Social Security benefits will go up, so you can maintain your purchasing power and not become half-starved or homeless. This adjustment isn't just a random number. It's directly tied to an official government statistic called the Consumer Price Index for Urban Wage Earners and Clerical Workers, or CPIW for short. This is where the government manipulates the true inflation rate to keep senior citizens, who have worked 45 years of their life and paid into the Social Security Fund, only to be shorted when they need it most and forced to keep working to survive. Here's how it works. Each year, the Social Security Administration looks at the CPIW data from the third quarter, that's July, August, and September. They compare the average of these 3 months to the average from the same period in the previous year. If the CPIW has gone up, a COLA is announced in October, and the increased payments start hitting bank accounts the following January. If the index stays the same or goes down, which is virtually impossible, benefits just stay the same. Your payments will never decrease. Sounds like a fair system, right? Well, when it is not being manipulated, it is. But here's where things get complicated, and where many people start to feel the pinch. The core of the issue lies in the CPIW itself. This index tracks the spending habits of a specific group, urban wage earners and clerical workers, which makes absolutely no sense to any reasonable and logical thinking human being except to the government. The government says this group accurately represents the spending of the people who receive the most Social Security benefits, retirees, and disabled individuals. Many experts say no. The index should be tracking average home rental prices, average food prices, property taxes, and health insurance costs. Think about it. The spending patterns of a 40-year-old office worker are very different from those of a 75-year-old retiree. Retirees typically spend a much larger portion of their income on health care and housing. These are two areas where costs have been rising much faster than the overall inflation rate. On the other hand, the CPIW gives more weight to things like transportation, gasoline, and apparel. Shit that doesn't really matter to seniors or retirees because these are expenses that might be less significant for a senior who isn't commuting to work every day. Because of this mismatch, the COLA you receive does not come even close to fully covering the actual price increases you're experiencing. This has led to a major debate, which shouldn't even be a debate because of the facts, and the actual reality is evident enough. Some argue that the official inflation reports are being manipulated because none of what the government reports makes any sense, and is not what Americans are really experiencing. This is done by either intentionally misleading the public or by not updating to current living requirements for COLA. Either way, the government is creating a major problem for our seniors and retirees, and yet we are being told there is only a 2.5% inflation rate. And that's the false reality given to not just seniors, but every single person in this country. A lower official inflation rate means the government has to pay out less in Social Security benefits. This isn't some wild conspiracy theory or a money grab for people who depend on it. This has been an ever-growing problem that now causes unnecessary suffering and homelessness for our senior citizens and should be the top discussion among economists and policymakers. The human beings experiencing this point out the fact that the way we calculate inflation has changed multiple times over the decades. Methods like substitution, where it's assumed you'll buy chicken if beef gets too expensive, and hedonistic adjustments which try to account for quality improvements in products like smartphones can result in a lower reported inflation rate. The government's perspective is that these changes make the index more accurate, which is delusional. They argue that if a new TV has better features for the same price, you're getting more for your money, and that should be reflected in the inflation data. This is what we call plausible deniability here at False Realities Explained, and the government absolutely loves to use this. Hell, I think they are the ones who actually created the idea of plausible deniability. Anyways, but for a retiree on a fixed income, a fancier TV doesn't help pay for a higher rent bill or a more expensive prescription, and the government refuses to acknowledge this fact. The real-world consequence is a slow but steady erosion of purchasing power for everyone, including the millions of seniors. A study by the Senior Citizens League found that since the year 2000, Social Security benefits have lost a significant amount of their buying power, simply because the government refuses to give accurate inflation rates to make the economy look good, but also financially crippling disabled seniors and retirees. This is exactly why the COLAs haven't kept pace with the rising costs of goods and services that seniors actually buy and the basic necessities they need, like shelter and care. So what's the solution? Many advocates are pushing for the Social Security Administration to use a different index, called the CPIE, which stands for the Consumer Price Index for the Elderly. This index is specifically designed to track the spending habits of Americans aged 62 and older. It gives more weight to healthcare and housing and less to transportation and entertainment. If the CPIE were used to calculate COLAs, adjustments would likely be much higher and more accurately reflect the financial nightmare retirees are facing in 2025. Will this happen? As with any government institution, any movement towards integrity or being held accountable for programs that are broke or causing problems is usually a very long, drawn-out process and takes years to implement and another couple years to go into effect. So by the time they fix it, Social Security may not even exist and something new put in place. Then that will be used as an excuse to take money out of your paycheck and promise you it will be there when you retire. While this change hasn't happened yet or will at any time in the near future, it's crucial to be aware of how the system works. Understanding the link between the CPIW, your COLA, and your actual expenses is the first step in planning your finances effectively in retirement. Now, if the government just did what we were told it would do, and more importantly, stop gaslighting the American people about the true inflation rate and report it correctly to the CPIW, and let the disabled seniors and retirees who depend on this have a safe and comfortable environment to live out the short remaining time they have, we wouldn't be talking about this. This shouldn't even be a discussion in America today, and I shouldn't have to make this video about this issue. But too many seniors, disabled or retired, are going homeless every day because of this. It highlights the importance of not relying solely on Social Security and having other sources of retirement income. In other words, the government is telling you to either get rich or suffer. Thanks for watching. If you found this information helpful, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more insights into your personal finances. Stay informed and take care.